Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Day Drinking with Mike. Uh, I noticed, here's a situation. I noticed while I was um, shopping for the old granddad that I got for the comparison between Basil Hayden and old granddad. And as I was in the liquor store walking around, I noticed a display of the little sampler bottles of various liquors, but whiskey in particular. And I realized that probably the first way that a lot of people sort of experience multiple whiskeys in their sort of whiskey tasting journey is actually with sample bottles like this. That way you don't have to buy a big 750 milliliter bottle to discover that you don't like that particular whiskey. Makes sense. So I got a handful just to try them out, and I actually already filmed an episode drinking these. And then this is sort of the downfall of being a small YouTube channel is I don't have a production team. So I don't have a camera person to make sure that I'm actually in frame. Luckily, I'm filming on a GoPro at the moment, so it's got a very wide angle of view. But also, you don't have producers, I guess makeup people, if that became important. I think I actually need a mask to improve this, but whatever. But also just people around to notice that you've got, bits of lunch on your shirt and, a big, a big zit on your forehead that's really, really noticeable on camera that you didn't notice that morning when you were getting ready to film. So I was not camera ready, and it's actually to the point where even I found it distracting. So here we are again, refilming the video. Now what I've got is actually 4 whiskeys, 4 sampler bottles that I got. And this is, again, like I said, a great way to try some different whiskeys without putting out a whole lot of money. Bear in mind, of course, that it's going to be the larger sort of mass market whiskeys, the big brand names that you're going to get sampler bottles or stocking stuffer gift bottles is what we usually thought of them as. Some of the smaller craft distilleries are not going to bother bottling these. These are kind of probably loss leaders, really. They probably don't make a whole lot of money since they're only selling these for $4 or $5. They're not going to make a whole lot of money out of them. In fact, yeah, most of these, I think, that's glass. Some of these are actually plastic. So, I mean, they're expending as little money as possible, but they're not going to make a whole lot of return off of them. Whereas, a more professional bottle, or a real commercial size bottle, I should say, makes them more money, just because they can charge commensurately more. But that being said, I actually have 2 Jack Daniels here. One is their Tennessee Honey whiskey, just because I was curious, and then their standard just regular Tennessee whiskey. Now, what is Tennessee whiskey? It's essentially bourbon. They go through the same sort of processes. I actually have to look up. I don't remember if they have the same mash bill, if it has to be 51% corn. I don't think it has to, but it often is. It goes through the same process. It has to be aged a certain number of years. I think it is still for at least 4 years. I think it is. So it goes through all of the same hoops that bourbon goes through, except that 1, it's not made in Kentucky, it's made in Tennessee. And 2, to sort of really differentiate it because just the place of manufacture doesn't really separate it that much. They wanted to be able to call it Tennessee whiskey. So the one extra step that they have is that Tennessee whiskey is filtered through, I believe it's maple charcoal. So they charcoal filter it, supposedly removes more impurities. Um, I think it probably also removes some flavors and substitutes them with others, because now you're having the whiskey in contact, at least for a brief period of time, with another type of charcoal. Mind you, the white oak barrels that we typically age whiskeys in, they're charred on they're toasted, but they're charred on the inside, so technically they have contact with charcoal then too. But oh yeah, I forgot, I've already poured this one out. So the Jack Daniels, I'm going, I think, in order of increasing robustness. I'm starting off light here with the Tennessee Honey Whiskey. This is Jack Daniels that is actually mixed with a honey liqueur. It's not just honey added to this. It's a honey liqueur. So, and mind you, since I've already tasted these because I've already filmed this, I'm kind of coming back to this. So I'm trying to sort of combine my notes with my experience here with what I've experienced before. Now, okay, the Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey Whiskey is really sweet. Predominantly brown sugar, but there's sort of a starchiness that that I kind of think of sweet potato casserole. Just think of how that smells with the sweet potatoes and the brown sugar and the marshmallow melted on top. That's kind of what I get. The breadiness, and there is a little bit of an herbalness. When Chris tasted this, she got like Thanksgiving stuffing with sage. It was like a full Thanksgiving dinner in a glass, which is interesting. It's not bad, but it's very, very sweet. So it's like Thanksgiving dinner, but you took the sweet potato casserole and just plopped it on top of all of it. It's nice. It's way too sweet for my taste. Yeah, and that brown sugar really carries through. I get the herbalness, so I actually can, and maybe it's just from suggestion now that I'm thinking about the Thanksgiving stuffing with sage. I do taste the sage. And there is a very lingering sweetness. It's almost cloying. I'm not sure I like it. It's okay, but not my thing. So let's just remove the honey liqueur from the equation. You see, I'm just pouring just a tiny, tiny bit. And because I'm rinsing out the glass, I am actually getting a little, a drop or three of water mixed in here, which I'm hoping will, oh, wow. I'm hoping will allow the aromas to express better, as I've noted in a previous video how that works. But it's going to cause some of those alcohol-soluble, volatile compounds to express more readily. And I know I'm doing a wine tasting thing, by the way. Whiskey tasters typically don't swirl the glass, but I just do. I'm just so used to it because I'm more used to wine tasting. Now the straight, just regular Jack Daniels, obviously much less sweet. What I think whiskey aficionados describe as a cherry aroma comes through, but I get red licorice. I just get red vines all the time. Okay, so that herbiness is still there. It's subtle. And the sweetness, the sweetness is there, but there's a certain sort of fruitiness, but it's kind of an artificial fruitiness. I think Chris actually described it as bubble gum, which is interesting. So I should probably have rinsed my mouth before this, because this is way less sweet. There's a hint of smoke and wood. That's definitely the barrel aging that's coming through. It's much more complex on the palate. It's just mostly because the other flavors are allowed to come through. It's not just sweet other stuff. Um, Not bad. Yeah, I can see as just a sipping whiskey. Not bad. I can see how some people would like that. It's not my favorite, um, especially especially in the mouth. There's not as much going on that I'm picking up anyway. Um, some of the other whiskeys that I've sort of gravitated toward so far anyway seem to have a bit more complexity on the palate. So this isn't my favorite. I would not turn it down if it were offered. Next, Jameson's. We're doing an Irish. Anything special about this one? Triple distilled. So theoretically, they've gotten rid of all of the nasty stuff. Um, Boy, there's not much of that. You don't get a whole lot in these bottles, obviously. That's the whole point. But okay, very, very light and soft on the nose. Not a whole lot of complexity. Um, Brown sugar. There's a bit of a citrus, like orange peel. Um, Maybe some woody notes. Yeah, so there's some barrel notes. Buttered toast. Hmm. Hmm. A little bit of spiciness. Um, there's an herbal note at the very front. It's almost kind of mentholy eucalyptusy. Is that a word? Slight bite on the finish. That citrus kind of lingers, so it goes from orange peel on the nose to more like grapefruit in the mouth. And once it opens up a little, there are some floral notes. I can't pick out what the flowers are, but and more wood. That's nice. Um, I can see people keeping that around as a sipping whiskey. Um, I think it's got enough going on that you could actually do cocktails with that as well. There are some whiskeys that either have so much complexity, so much going on that you don't want to waste it on mixing it with Coca-Cola or whatever. And on the other hand, there are ones that are so subtle, are so one note that they don't really contribute anything. You want all the ingredients of your cocktail to actually contribute something to the whole. Otherwise, why are they there other than to just, I guess, take up volume? In which case, just use a mid-range vodka if you all you want is volume and maintaining alcohol content. And just use a straight vodka. Don't use a whiskey, particularly expensive ones. Um, okay, now here's the one that I'm a little nervous about. So far, my experience with scotches has been, I think one win to four losses. But this has to be popular for a reason, right? Johnny Walker Red. This is a blended Scotch whiskey. We'll see. No, mind you, the ones that I didn't like were all smoky, peated scotches, and one of one flavor or another. And the one that I liked is not. So it's just the smoke. It's just the peat that I'm struggling with, and that might be okay. It's everybody has their own tastes, and I just don't like smoke. And there it is. Although it's subtle, it's a lot more subtle, but it is definitely there. Sweetness again, hinting at brown sugar. There is kind of a leatheriness, I think. These don't really stand up very well. And it's printed in 4-point font. I have no idea. I don't know if there's any corn in this. But there is there's a leatheriness that I've learned one attributes to corn whiskey specifically. I think Chris mentioned this smelled like a kind of an old leather baseball glove, and that was actually a positive thing, by the way. But and there's just a little bit of a floral note. Okay. That smoke is still there. There is the brininess. The iodine hits you right on the finish. So again, Chris tasted this, said, smoke, linoleum, Band-Aids. That's what she tasted. Did not like it. I don't like it, but I'm not as vehemently against it as she is. But there's not enough positive there for me to say, oh yes, pour me another. I need to wash that out. So, did I rinse this already? I'll do it again. Now, as a bonus, just because I need to get this taste out of my mouth, a wee dram of something totally different, Courvoisier. This is a VSOP cognac, which is very different from everything we've had. Okay. So no sweetness. Right now I'm just getting alcohol. There is still kind of almost kind of a eucalyptus. But it's not quite menthol-y, so we'll just say herbal. Floral. Still can't quite pick out what flowers, but well, that tastes better than the Johnny Walker, if only for the lack of smoke. Little finish, just a little flash of a finish of maple syrup on there. There is kind of an unctuous feeling, but not in an oily way. I don't know what to say about that. It leaves me with this sort of an alkaline bitterness. I'm not 100% sure that I like. And actually, I don't know if it's just lingering from the Johnny Walker, but I'm actually picking up some of the linoleum that Chris mentioned from the Scotch. So it may just be carrying over because I've tasted four of the things in rapid succession. not my favorite. I seem to remember liking cognac more. Mind you, the last time that I had cognac was 14 years ago. I happened to get a hold of a bottle of Remy. I think it was also a VSOP, Remy Martin cognac, and it had actually sat around. We'll say cellared, but that's kind of a fancy word for sat around for a number of years before we opened it. And it was quite funky to begin with, but once we let it breathe for a bit, it was really quite delicious. And that may just simply be, the good company that I was in, and the situation at the time, and how we treated it. We drank the whole bottle that night, but it was a little bit more pleasant than this. And again, that is no indictment of the Courvoisier here. I may be influenced by the whiskeys that particularly the Johnny Walker that I tasted beforehand. It could be that just the alcohol of the 4 previous ones has dulled my senses. It could be that in the 14 preceding years, my sense of taste and smell has degraded that much more. Who knows? I might be willing to try them side by side at some point, and see if the Remy was as good as I remember. If this is, I won't say as bad, but if this isn't as good as that, or if they're comparable and I'm just remembering it through rose-colored glasses. I don't know if that works, but whatever. So, getting cheap sampler bottles, again, is another way to try out some whiskeys without breaking the bank. I've tried these 4. There are others. I didn't find any that I wanted to try during that particular expedition, but I'll keep my eye out for more of these sampler bottles so I can try other whiskeys in the future. And to that end, if you have any that they sell in this size, let me know, and I'll keep an eye out for them. Just leave a comment down below. And if there are any that you just think I should sample that you think I can afford, also leave those in the comments below. And as always, like, subscribe, make any comments that you like, be nice. And otherwise, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.